Hey everyone, welcome to another guide. I feel like we've talked about a lot of the basic stuff so far, and you're all at the part of the game where, you just go through the events, build your characters and all. So right now, we're going to talk about how you should be spending your resin, because I've been seeing a lot of posts, some questions about artifacts or their boss rewards, basically flexing. And then some, which they regret spending their time and their resin on because, RNG. So again, hello, welcome, this is Godric, and let's talk about resin efficiency. You all know what resin is. It's our sort of energy, or ticket as I like to say it, our ticket for claiming rewards in-game, and you can buy it using Primo Gems, or you just wait for it to replenish. But either way, it's one mechanic of the game that tells us to, touch some grass. So, they're not wrong. You need to go out there sometimes. Yeah, anyway. So it, being limited, is something that balances the player's overall progress, since it gives us AR XP and such. And as we've talked about before, in my previous videos, right? From the start, we need to choose the character that we like or we want to build. And to do that, you'll need XP books, Mora, Ascension, and talent materials from bosses and domains, more Mora, and of course, another set for the weapons. So let's not forget that we also have to farm for our artifacts. And you do this for every single character that you have, given that, you need to build your characters, especially 1 or 2 parties for the Abyss. First off, to be resin efficient, I'd like to stress this out again. Once you've unlocked all your Ascension talents, meaning you've leveled up your characters past 60 over 70, you need to level up your talents first. Although generally, it's advised, especially for DPS characters, to be ascended to 80 over 90, if not 90. So, of course, it provides you better stats, that's why. And that being said, your talents are your damage or support multipliers, and it's why you need to level them up first before you hunt for specific artifacts. Because sometimes, we tend to look for stat boost for our characters, right? And without even looking at how our talent levels are. Sometimes, players even forget that you can level up your talents. Since leveling up your characters, talents, and weapons requires Mora, here's a tip, but more like a reminder. Another source of Mora is each region's bounties and requests. Starting off, you'll need to level up your reputation level per region, right? And you'd eventually be given a glider once you reach a certain level. So, once your reputation level is maxed out, it doesn't mean that you stop doing them. You still accept bounties and requests, and this is on a weekly basis, so make sure that you don't miss that out. I mentioned this because you might be thinking about claiming Mora from the ley lines, which is okay, definitely, if you're short on Mora. But I'm saying this for the sake of being resin efficient, which is, the whole point of this video. So I kept saying that artifacts should be last, right? Because everything I said are based on my own playstyle before and my own experience. And I wanted to get better artifacts, but I found out my talents were all on the low side. Yeah, so artifacts need to be farmed last because of its very nature. It's RNG. And you basically gamble for one of the 2 sets, and there's no guarantee even if you've spent all of your saved fragile resin. Also, you need to consider that since characters have different elements, talents, and roles, some of them need to prioritize better substats over the set bonuses, and some the other way around. And it also depends on how you're using them in the team. So, for example, like Xiao, his famous build is giving him 2-piece Viridescent Venator and 2-piece attack percent sets. But overall, you want your Xiao to have the perfect crit ratio and decent attack, right? So, some players run him with 2 different attack pieces, or some even have only 1 or none at all. On the other hand, the best example would be Sucrose, where, of course, you want to give her the best stats, right? But you just want to get the 4-piece set effect of the Viridescent Venator so badly that you're gonna benefit more when you use the 4-piece set despite having bad stats or rolls. So for artifacts, it's a little tricky given all the random rolls and conditions. But for starters, I also keep saying this, at low AR with 4-star artifacts only, it's okay to use what you have. You'll slowly transition to using the 5 stars eventually anyway. But you can first use the generic pieces given by the bosses, the Gladiator's Finale and the Wanderer's Troop. And don't be pressured about using specific set pieces, only when you're already trying to clear the Abyss. Now, that being said, here are some of the most resin efficient domains in the current patch, but I'm gonna give them to you with specific scenarios. So first off, Emblem of Severed Fate and Shimenawa's Reminiscence domain. If you have characters that rely on quick swapping or off-field or burst nuke damage, or if you need either one of the sets, basically, For example, you need the emblem set for your Shengchu, Xiangling, or of course Raiden, or the Shimenawa for your Yoimiya, Child, or Hu Tao. You can passively get the other set pieces, so you can use them to replace some of your existing ones, especially if you're on the min-maxing part of your character building. And the Shimenawa pieces are especially helpful if you're using some gladiators for the attack bonus and you need to replace them. Next is the Heart of Death and Blizzard Strayer set, especially useful for folks who are building freeze teams, cryo mains, and or if you generally use Hydro DPS, although right now it's just Child and Ayato. So I've also mentioned it before that for cryo DPS characters, you can and you should abuse the Blizzard Strayer set because it just gives you so much crit rate that you can dedicate your hunt for other important stats aside from crit rate. So third is the Tenacity of the Millilith and Pale Flame. So I personally don't farm here, or at least I stopped early on because I don't have the characters that would utilize these sets. However, if you have Zhongli, Kokomi, Eula, and other characters that need physical damage, you can efficiently farm in this domain. The Tenacity set also has different applications, and the Pale Flame, either 2-piece or 4-piece, can be useful for you. And then, the fourth is the Husk of Opulent Dreams and Ocean Hued Clam. For players who like using their Barbara, Chi-Chi, or Kokomi, and if you have Ito, Albedo, Noel, or Yunjin, so far in this domain, I felt that it's really helpful since just like the Emblem and Shimenawa domain, you can passively get the other set pieces. Also, the fact that the Ocean Hued Clam set has power crept the Maiden Beloved set is important to note. Finally, the latest domain that just popped up in the chasm is the Echoes of an Offering and the Vermilion set. So, if you have normal attackers, for example Ayato or Yoimiya, and if you have Zhao, you can farm in this domain since right now, Zhao is the only one that could utilize the Vermilion set. And generally, both pieces are also useful if you're min-maxing your Gladiators or your Shimenawa 2-piece sets, since both of them are now included in the group of attack percent 2-piece sets. Having said all that, I'd like to mention these domains that I'd have to say are inefficient, or they just became counterproductive for our artifact farmers, since they only have one generally useful set. But these are still worth farming for, and I'll talk about it more. So, Viridescent Venerer and Maiden Beloved domain. Like I said, the Viridescent Venerer set is very much worth the pain, but the Power Crept Maiden set isn't anymore. So, if you're going to farm here, for sure, it's only for the Viridescent Venerer set. And then, the Thundering Fury and Thunder Soother domain. Normally, the Thundering Fury is the target here, but some players make use of the Thunder Soother's 4-piece set effect. So if you could, utilize that, go for it. And then Crimson Witch and Lava Walker. Similar to the Thundering Fury, it's synonymous to the Crimson Witch, which is mostly the main target. But we can't avoid getting the Lava Walker, since it's the Pyro counterpart of the Thunder Soother. This next one, I have lived in this domain for a long time, trying to get decent Noblesse pieces, but it was before the time that the Artifact Strongbox was introduced. So, I'm gonna give the Noblesse and Bloodstain domain a special mention for Leave This Domain Alone section. 2 reasons. Although I have to say that, especially for burst supports, a 2-piece Noblesse set is still very useful, and its 4-piece set effect is also significant for supports, and the domain is pretty much power crept because of the Bloodstain set. Also, since you're up against uncertainty of either of the 2 sets, I feel like it's better to use the Artifact Strongbox. Even if we call it the Artifact Scam Box most of the time, the least you get here is the fact that you're guaranteed to have the specific set that you want, unlike from the actual domain. Now, having mentioned the Strongbox, if and when you hunt for the Viridescent, the Thundering Fury, or the Crimson Witch pieces, but actually any domains, I'm sure you'll have your trash pieces. They in turn would be better off to be sacrificed into the Strongbox, in exchange for, I'd say, the Noblesse pieces. Okay, so bottom line, this is a gacha game. Our resources are limited unless we spend our real money, which most of us won't or can't do even. So proper spending of resin is important. It's why I made this guide. And with that, here are some additional tips that you could make use of. So first, our weekly bosses have a 60 resin cost for claiming the drops, and they changed it to being only 30 resin for the first 3 bosses. So this balancing, quote unquote, is helpful and cost efficient. So I would personally suggest that if you're in your end game, say maybe AR 50 and above, you want to spend your resin on something else, just farm 3 of the weekly bosses and don't get the others, because you may no longer need the specific drops anyway. And next, you probably already know that you can convert 40 resin into condensed resin, and if you don't know, now you do. It just makes your farming of domains easier, you know. You basically save time by claiming 2 times the drops. We also have the parametric transformer. So this converts your spare materials, your items, into talent or weapon level up materials. It also converts them into mora and even crystals for your weapons. So this is often forgotten, and you shouldn't, because it would really help you save resin if you fall short, especially on only 1 or 2 pieces for level up materials. And I've also seen some players saying that they don't use their teapot. I know it's a lot to take in, especially if you're already overwhelmed by the overworld or by the amount of materials that you need to farm. But if you don't know, you can actually claim 1 fragile resin from your teapot weekly. And if you sort of want to speed up your AR XP progress, you want to farm for more materials, then this is pretty helpful. Also adding this here about crowning. So this is my personal style and you can choose to ignore this, but ultimately crowning is your choice, and whoever or how many you want to crown, it's all on you. I've also seen some players who never crowned anybody in their team and they could still clear the abyss. But of course, we want to do it, especially to our favorite characters, or you know, if you really want to squeeze the maximum damage that you can. But to save the crowns and the resin for the materials, I personally don't triple crown, since I think, especially for some characters, I won't be able to utilize their whole kit anyway. So if I'm not single crowning, I do double. For example, my Hu Tao, she has her normal attack and her skill crowned, because I also use the 4-piece Shiminawa set. This is my workaround for not having good Crimson Witch pieces, so I incentivized on her skill and her charge attacks. And then my Zhao, as you can see, only his normal attack and his burst are crowned, because they're the ones connected in a way, right? So yeah, I repeat, crowning is your choice. This is just a little tip if you want to save even for the time being. And finally, the game is playable however you want to play it. You can build characters however you want, and these are just tips about, you know, how you can efficiently do that, so you won't waste any resources. Alright, so our winners from our last week's giveaway are Andre and Maki Diel Hanvi. Congratulations! Please send me a message on my socials here in my about page on my channel. And with that, I'd like to thank you for dropping by and watching. I hope I was able to help you with regards to farming and using your resin efficiently. And if you have tips about what you do, some farming tricks, please put them in the comments section for the others to see. So please like and share the video, as it would really help me get more viewers and hopefully put more guides out there for you. And you know, I really appreciate those of you guys who are starting to watch out for my videos. It really means a lot to me. So with that, again, thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one.